On the drive, goes inside the floor. Turn him over again. Booker scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
This is my Wednesday NBA face. It's 11 games. We got some good injury reporting. No thanks, JSU, to Travis Mangone. And I want to immediately talk about this because it bothers me. It bothers me when someone has a singular task in life, and they just fail miserably at it. I mean, I get these notifications when I wake up, and I was up early this morning, 5:45, and some notification at 3 that Travis was on a live stream doing God knows what the fuck. And he's supposed to be monitoring their injury report. He comes in and he says, to be honest, for an 11 gamer, there's not a lot of injury news. And that's because he wasn't looking at the injury report, JSU. He was out in the mountains. He was riding a bike. He was playing with the elves. Congrats to our guy AP. He didn't need Travis's reporting last night. Came in second in the 222 for a 25K hit. That is very nice. A couple of big weeks for our buddy AP. And we're excited about the 11-game slate, JSU. We were just talking about it a little bit. I think there's some clear, at least as of right now, very bad projected chalk. I think there's some very good pivots. I think there's some great plays on this slate. I think there's some games that you can completely pretty much forget about, even if you're playing 150. I'm playing because I hate the $18 contest, but they're doing that because people are sick and tired of this. It's a long season. It's been one of the worst seasons in terms of late scratches, ridiculous injury reporting, just teams not playing, guys not playing. But even if you're playing 150, I think there's a couple of games where you could be like, you know what? The chances that someone in this game gets optimal is just so low. There's some clear spots here, and I think they're not the ones that people think are the clear spots. I think you're on the same page. But what do you think of Travis just shirking his responsibility, going off into the hills, chasing coyotes, and not being there for the Run Pure Sports members or his teammates, quite frankly?
Well, first off, I got to just say, playing with the elves, I don't know if that was a short joke. I don't know if that was a, little shot at
wasn't a short joke
from the side. I couldn't tell, but I'm going to pretend like it wasn't a short joke. What? AP coming in. I mean, thank you, Jim. I don't
know what he's doing. Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's some bullshit right there. I'll just say that. But I agree. I mean, Travis is on Twitter. He's tweeting about food. I mean, I saw him tweet about quesadillas and milkshakes and God knows whatever else. Yeah. And you say he's in the mountains. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's not doing the injury report, though. I know that. He will be doing the slate builder, though, with me later tonight. So if you want to check that out over at Run Pure Sports, you can get all of
as long as you're on it.
Mangone's takes with
as long as you're on it with him, man. I have confidence that you are going to show up and post for the people. I don't know.
Always, I try my best, anyways. Always, Mangone hit or miss right now. Really interesting. He must be really hungry because I've never seen him tweet this much about food. So I don't know what's going on with Mangone. Mangone, you need to get some food in you or something like that. Go out, get a snack or two, get ready because this is going to be a long NBA night. Okay, this night it's not one of those nights where 7:00 hits and you just close that laptop. DK, we love DK, but they said, screw you guys. We could make this a 6-game slate. We could make this a 7-game slate, JT. Mm-hmm. Yo, we're going to make this an 11-game slate for all of you who still love the NBA in March, who still grind the NBA in March. We're going to make this 11 games for you guys. So it's going to be interesting. You got 4 games at 10. You got 1 game at 9. You got a couple games at 8. 2 7s, a 7:30 game. They spread it out really nice. And
Really nice.
Strategy. Really nice. I mean, but JT, seriously though, on a serious note, that's going to bring a lot of strategy into play on this slate, because there's some news that you are going to want to make your DFS lineups with some of these teams. And unfortunately, we don't have a bunch of games that lock at 7, so we're not guaranteed to have some of that news. Hopefully, we get some early news on some of these teams playing a little bit later. I don't know what happened with you in the Denver news last time out, JT, but I was kind of thinking these guys were going to play. Then they didn't play, and it was like, oh, crap. Okay, now I got to get as much Denver into my lineup as I can, figure out. I'm going to go under the assumption that they have to play after not playing in that televised game. They're going to play against the Lakers here. I'm just assuming they sat that one because they're like, we got the Lakers game coming up, right, JT? We want to be fully healthy against the Lakers. That's my assumption. I could be totally wrong, and they could sit all their guys again, and the league be pissed again. I just don't think that's what's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen either. I think it was a situation where, and it maybe I didn't look at the schedule, but remember, we know that the Lakers are in this stretch where, LeBron got hurt in the middle of it, right? Whether that's a convenient injury or a legitimate injury, whatever it is. I tend to think it's legitimate because of all the criticisms you can make of LeBron. He does like to go out there and play. He does go out there and play for the most part, regardless of what the injury reporting says. So I tend to think this may be one where they just said to that game. And the thing about Malone is he doesn't full punt games, right? Those guys went out there, and the mistake I made is I was like, okay, it's Russ, but I didn't love Gordon. I didn't love Michael Porter Jr. And they came to play, and they whipped up on the Golden State Warriors.
I loved Aaron Gordon. I loved Russ. My mistake was I played too much Indiana value early. So I didn't have enough roster flexibility. And we talk about this all the time being a key thing. We're like, if you're someone who thinks that was the difference though, JT. If I thought in my head that there was a good chance they sat, I would have played less Pacers. Hence, I would have had more roster flexibility to fit some of these guys. Not that I would have faded the Pacers, because I still would have played Pacers, but I'm saying I wouldn't have played, 4 on all my teams or 5. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have jammed them like I did. And that was but I didn't think that I thought Denver guys were going to play. So that was my mistake in thinking that. Now I'm a little more, cautious because I think they play here, but I thought they played last time out. So, what are you going to do?
They usually don't sit back to back. As far as the other night, I limited the Pacers. I limited them to 3 per team, and I backed their exposures, the ownership levels down, because I knew. I even came in Discord. I said they still have 12 guys, and this is Rick Carlisle. Like, a couple of these guys are going to get there, but it was the way the makeup of the slate. Long story short, I limited them, but not enough, because Jokic ended up not being on the slate. Okay, so you didn't need them to fit a 13K guy, right? Not that I didn't think he was a great play at that salary anyway. And then,
but with all the value, it was kind of easy to get him if you wanted him.
Except same thing last night. And last night I thought about it. I said, well, you know what? Everyone's going to play Giannis. He was looking like he was going to be 70% owned, and Golden State surrounds him. He had one game over 60 fantasy points against Golden State out of his last 15. So something that people need to be thinking about is, just because I can fit a 13K player, right? Just because I can fit him and Luka, and that's what people were doing with this Pacers value. Well, it's still Rick Carlisle. It's still going to be a large rotation. And you ended up having a weird scenario where Bryant didn't play a lot of minutes. His backup outscores him fantasy-wise. Obi Toppin is the guy you want. And even though TJ McConnell and Benny Mathurin had good games, right, paid off their salary 7x on DraftKings, it still wasn't enough, because you had Jalen Green. You had these other players that had really big ceiling games, and Luka didn't matter at 5x. And tonight's probably not setting up that way. But I say that because the first game we will talk about is the one involving the Indiana Pacers. And regardless of because Turner has been ruled in, So even if Pascal sits, right? Even if Tyrese sits, they still have guys, and now their prices are elevated. So it's a different setup. But to your point, the other night, the Pacers, man, I limited them, but just not enough.
Yep. And like you said, you made a good point about like the studs and stuff like that. Now, I will say, I think comparing Giannis and Jokic from a fantasy standpoint this year is probably not ideal because, to be honest with you, and I don't know if you've realized this too, but like
I have.
Giannis has ceiling. We have not seen those massive Giannis games from in years past this year, I feel like, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if he's taking a little easier in the regular season, if they're not pushing him as much, Dame and Brooke and Kuz, because there's no Bobby, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is, but like Jokic, we're watching him do, 70 burgers like it's nothing on a night in, night out basis, So Giannis isn't even, to me, on that level. So I agreed with you 100% last. Like, I didn't really think you needed Giannis, even though you could get to him. I was more like, can you get me more of the, give me more of that Jimmy Butler range, you know what I mean? The Porzingis, type range, and then see where I'm at. But
Trae Young turned out to be a good play last night, given the way that everything scored. But we got a new slate to get to. It's 11 games. And as you said, there's going to be news throughout the night. We're going to talk about what we know as of right now. And you guys, if you have questions about almost anything, we will not answer or entertain certain questions, of course.
Like, why the fuck AP said thank you, Jim? We will not entertain those questions.
I mean, let's keep it professional. Let's keep it professional. Number one, we would. By
the way, Nate said you're as sexy as ever. I will just say, probably the best looking DFS show you're going to get on a Wednesday. Just throwing that out there. Combo.
We won't. We won't be playing any adult film clips on this show. I will tell you that. But we will get into
definitely not.
We will get into this slate, JSU, and it begins with an interesting injury report here. Dallas heading into Indianapolis to play the Pacers. Pacers are favored here by 10.5, a 234 total. For Dallas, Caleb Martin is out. Brandon Williams, Kai Jones, and Jaden Hardy are all questionable. Indiana apparently has 37 players on their roster, because I'm about to read the status of 11 of these guys. Jarace Walker, Pascal, Siakam, Tyrese, Halliburton, Johnny Furphy are all questionable. Ray J, Dennis, Enrique Freeman, Quentin Jackson, Aaron Nesmith, Miles Turner are all in. JSU, I am not excited about this spot outside of maybe PJ Washington. The prices, like I mentioned, are up on these backups for the Pacers. What are your thoughts here on this first game of the slate?
Yeah, so my thoughts here are, out of all three of the 7/7:30 game, this is definitely the best game, I think. This is definitely the game that, if you look at them just on the surface, you have the potential for value on both sides. All right. I don't think you can really say that, especially with like price tags and stuff. If Pascal and Halliburton are ruled out, their highest price guy is Miles Turner at 6'4". So if those guys are out, I do think that makes some of these Pacers pretty good plays. I think it puts the bigs really as good plays. Miles Turner, Obi Toppin, I think they're two of the better plays. And then I would rank the guards like Nembhard, Mathurin, McConnell. I will say, like, McConnell ran a little pure there last time out. Nembhard getting tossed, right, JT? Like, in a normal game, I don't think he's playing 19 minutes, right? So,
well, see, here's where we get into the NBA late season theory, right? Not only do you have a lot of guys questionable, this is the the front end of a back-to-back.
Yes.
So,
so you could make the case that, a coach could. Well, that's a case though that because they're playing tomorrow, right, JT?
Yep.
So that's a case that maybe we see these guys sit again.
Could be.
possibly, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
which again, I would be more on the big side. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm more like if those guys sit Miles Turner, Obi Toppin, then the Nembhard, Mathurin, McConnell would be how I'd rank them because I think they'd be a little thinner for the bigs, especially with Jarris Walker being questionable. He played the 3 or started at the 3 last game. If he's out, that's another big 3-4 that they could be down. So, and I think Thomas Bryant would only really back up Miles Turner. So, he's not going to take really any 4. So Obi Toppin's going to play a ton if that happens, so that's kind of how I
he's
rank
4,800 now. Obi Toppin's 4,800.
4,800. Yeah. I don't want Obi Toppin if Pascal's in, if Tyrese Halliburton's in.
Yeah.
I'm talking strictly if those guys are out.
Mhm.
I think he becomes a good play because I think his minutes are just going to be massive because I just don't see where else they're going. You know what I mean? He played 45 minutes last game. I mean, I don't know if he plays 45 minutes, but I don't see how he doesn't play 35 minutes. And if Jarris Walker's out on top of it, then I think he plays 40 minutes. Because I just don't see where else they're going there. So, yeah, I mean, right now I'm waiting for that news. The good thing is we'll get that news before lock. It's one of the few pieces of news we will get. So we don't have to speculate too much. If those guys are in, though, I'll probably be, not as interested in general in Indiana. Maybe outside of like a Halliburton, just because he does have upside and at that price tag, if he's
Especially
in,
against
he's
Dallas,
good to go.
sure. Yeah.
Against Dallas, I would like it. And on the Dallas side, I honestly don't love much. I think PJ Washington and Brandon Williams are probably the 2 best plays. If you made me pick like the 2 top guys, I think I'd pick those 2 guys. But at their price tags, like I don't feel the need to have to play these guys. But PJ Washington would be number 1 for me if I had to pick one.
Yeah, same here. PJ is the guy that I've kind of, if he's playing, I'm interested. Pretty good matchup, especially if you consider that it's if it's just going to be Turner and Toppin. I mean, I think it's a good spot. Someone with a very intriguing username wants to know about AJ Johnson starting being chalk. Well, they ruled Poole in, and they ruled Marcus Smart in, and we'll talk about that game when we get to it. But I just think that makes, maybe outside of the forwards, Washington very, very volatile. I guess the centers too, right? I mean, it is a matchup with the Utah Jazz. We'll talk about that when we get to that game. I don't know if AJ Johnson is a play anymore because of the fact that they have a couple more bodies there. And it's volatile, and I think you certainly don't need it, but we'll talk through it.
No, and I think the key is, though, JT, because some of these teams, you got to remember, some of these teams are not trying to win, right? Some of these
definitely
teams
not trying to win.
Right. They're trying to get through the season, right? Even Utah, they're just trying to get through the season. That's why they were playing Lauri Markkanen like 23 minutes the last couple of games. Now he's out, but I'm just saying, like, in general, you can tell the teams that are trying to but I don't understand it. We're going to talk about Philly here in a little bit, but Philly's a team that they don't want to win games, right, JT? And they didn't.
Makes no sense. Philly makes no sense.
They didn't end up winning that game, but they played Quentin Grimes 43 minutes. And I'm like, what? I watched you guys slow roll with all of your guys out, including Quentin Grimes, and you only had 8 players, and you slow rolled Jared Butler's minutes because you didn't want to win the game.
Yep.
You didn't push his minutes with only 8 guys because you didn't want to win. I watched it happen, and I'm like, okay, that's a team you're intentionally trying to lose games when you're slow rolling Jared Butler's minutes when you only have 8 guys and he's your clear best player. Right? And then you go play the next game, you go play Quentin Grimes 43 minutes. Doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
So this is the only thing, and I don't know. I meant to look it up, but I haven't yet looked up Quentin Grimes' contract status, because remember this deal. This was like Cody Martin for Quentin Grimes. Like, it's kind of a weird deal. And then all of a sudden they put Grimes on the floor for more than the 18 minutes that Jason Kidd was playing him, And
it's such a bad deal. Oh
and
my
he's a
God.
superstar. And this guy's a superstar. I mean, he cooked Houston the other night, right? So
I literally talked about it, JT, before the season. I said to myself, I was like, Dallas, the guys that they went and got, like the guy that not like the stars and stuff, like these role player guys, like Najee Marshall, which we saw the past few games be like amazing with all these guys out, Quentin Grimes. And I'm like, these guys are real hoopers. Like these guys can play. They're going to play their role. So you're not going to like see it, but these guys are actually really good hoop. And now we're like seeing it because of circumstances where they need to do more. But it just shows you like these role players that we see on a night in, night out basis. A lot of them can be more in the NBA given just a simple opportunity, given a few guys out. And it's just crazy how good. And we don't perceive them as that, though. You know what I mean? Like we don't perceive, we kind of perceive them as just like mid or not good. A lot of these guys, until you see like 6 guys out and they're friggin' superstars dropping 40 something. You're like, wow, Jason Kidd and Nico are real idiots for trading Quentin Grimes for
they're not having a good season by any stretch of the imagination. But what's interesting with a lot of these guys is they get the opportunity. They have a good game. They have a second good game, right? Can they sustain it? Well, Quentin Grimes has sustained it, and so much so that it was very odd because Nick Nurse came out and said, we're going to monitor the minutes of him, of Yabu, and of Kelly Oubre.
That was 3 games ago.
It was 5 games ago because 2 nights later, nights later on a back-to-back, Quentin Grimes at 0 ownership played, 39 minutes, went absolutely nuclear against the Hawks. He's done that twice more. And like I said, against the Rockets, I kind of have a suspicion that, and I don't know the contract status, but they're like, hey, wait a second, maybe we got something on our hands here. Let's figure out. And again, they don't seem to be the sharpest front office either. But hey, let's figure out what we have here and what this value is worth. Like, can we extend? Should we extend this guy? What are we doing? Or are they letting him showcase himself because they do have Tyrese Maxey?
When Nurse said it, didn't you feel like he already knew, okay, this is a guy that this is a real player? When he said those comments, in my head, the first thing I thought was, okay, they know Quentin Grimes is real. They know that, but
something had to change, right? Something had to change. So
maybe it was Quentin Grimes. Maybe Quentin Grimes went to the coaching staff and was like, when I play, I want to play. I don't want to just play like 28 minutes.
I don't think that would have impacted them. There's got to be. I would hope there's a strategic reason why he went from minutes monitored to 45 minutes, 42 minutes every single night. But all right, so this is the game that we're going to talk about. Actually, in just a few minutes, we'll talk about Philly. But the next game, this is a game that I find myself, JSU, very difficult to get interested about anything here. And definitely in MMA, I'm going to limit this to 1 player per each of these teams, maybe 1 player in this game as a whole. It's Houston at the Magic. This is a 209 total. Houston favored by 2.5. It does project to be a close game. However, the pricing is up here for most of these guys. Of course, Amen Thompson remains out. He will be out again tonight. For Orlando, Cole Anthony is questionable. Trevelyan Queen is out. But you've got Paulo Banchero now. He's been on a good stretch. But, man, 9,700, I think, is what he is on DraftKings. What are your thoughts here? Any interest in anybody in Houston and Orlando?
No, and I like the rule, like max 1. This just seems like a bad spot. I do like the Magic as a bet, plus money, just slightly plus money at home. Playing hard. Paolo's been playing really good.
Yeah.
The Rockets are still down one of their best players in Amen Thompson. I think it's a good spot for the Magic. I also think it's a spot where it probably goes under, which means for DFS at a 208, and I still kind of lean the under. I'm probably going to be under on this game, JT, or fading this game completely. I do think Paolo would be the best play if you were trying to pick a play from Orlando. I think Jalen Green would be the best play from Houston. And then if you're looking for a value play, Wendell Carter's still under 5K. I just hate playing Wendell Carter.
There's no upside. There's zero ceiling with him.
Yeah, literally. Like the ceiling's not even that great. And the floor is just, I mean, like 10. You know
the
what
floor
I
is
mean?
murderous. The floor is your
Yeah.
night's over. I mean, and
it's
it's over
in like
quick.
30 minutes. He can still give you those type of games. Like it's,
Yeah.
like a lot of times when you see this type of inconsistency, JT, you're looking at it and you're like, oh, the guy played 22 minutes that night, or he was in foul trouble and he played 31 minutes. Oh, he was good. And then he played 24 minutes. You get those like up and down. Yeah. Not with Wendell Carter. He's playing like 27 to 30 something minutes, and you're getting 11, 27, 17, 10, 37. Like it's just
and he always seems
nonstop.
he always seems to be much more, probably not on this slate, granted, but on other slates, smaller slates, much more popular than he should be, because he's
a popular play for DFS for sure.
He's under 5K. It's like, okay, great, but he's that 1% outcome literally happens less than 1% of the time with Wendell Carter Jr.
Like you said, I think because it's in the first window of games too, and there's so many games, everyone's going to assume we're going to get value, right? So no one's going to be playing him here, but for good reason, I think.
Absolutely. All right. Next game is another one that I'm kind of just like, there's one play that I looked at when I saw this, and it depends on starters. Detroit at Miami. The Pistons favored by 5 here, 218.5 total. Alec Burks and Andrew Wiggins are questionable for Miami. I'm not sure what Eric Spoelstra's doing here. We had someone in Discord say that they're low-key trying to lose. I mean, they're almost guaranteed to be in the play-in. I don't see that changing based on the current standing. So, and they are playing these guys big minutes, but Khalil Ware will start some games, not start other games. He's 5,100. He's a guy, if he started tonight, I would have mild interest in on this slate. Other than that, I mean, Cade, Bam, and Tyler as leaving guys in the pool just for upside. Other than that, not a lot of interest. JSU, what about you?
Yeah, and you got Andrew Wiggins, who's been in and out of the lineup. Last couple games been out. I kind of hope he's just in, because this is another game, JT. Like, I honestly don't like this game. Miami is at home. Jaime Hawkins has been very inconsistent. He had a good game last time out, but just, okay. He is 4,100. So if he does get the start, Andrew Wiggins is out, I could see, maybe playing some of him. But as a whole, like this game and the last game we just talked about, if I play no one from these games, I'd be okay with it. Like I would be totally fine with it. It's not really a great spot. You know what I mean? Right. Jalen Duran's been pretty good overall the last, 5-6 games, but he's 6,800. I don't feel like I need to. Maybe an MME could keep him in there. I think in MME, you also, even though it's not in my opinion, the greatest case, I think this like Cade maybe has a spend up at 9,900 JT, just because on this type of slate where we're at, I think he's the stud that gets left out. I think he's the stud that gets a little forgotten about. So I think he's probably the guy that I would look to the most, him, and then Jaime Hawkins if Wiggins is out and he is starting.
Yeah, on this slate, there's definitely going to be higher price plays that are going to be virtually unowned. Cade Cunningham looks, as of right now, especially coming off, I mean, they throttled the Pelicans, but he was popular, 25% owned, and definitely did not get there. We will move on. We are now in the 8 o'clock window for those of you who are not keeping score at home with your NBA or ESPN app. And then the next game, JSU, this is one we talked about before we went live. It's the Pelicans heading into Minnesota. The Timberwolves favored by 13. It's 228.5 total. Bruce Brown is off the injury report. Most of the Pelicans here are off the injury report, which means that for me, it's a little bit difficult to get excited about. Well, I guess Trey Murphy is out for the season. Okay, so that is something here where we may see a Jordan Hawkins start or a Bruce Brown. Hawkins has not been the guy that's been starting. It's Bruce Brown. So I'll point that up. But then when you take a look, now the Timberwolves are fully healthy. I want to point that out, right? But these prices are as low as the Wolves have been in quite some time. And you've got Rudy Gobert at 5,900, Jaden McDaniels 64. Naz Reid, who's now coming off the bench as a backup, 5,800. Disgusting as it may sound, Mike Conley, whose minutes have been up and down, 3,800 here. 14-point total, but a 14-point spread, but a 230 almost total JSU. I don't know. I want to believe that one of these Wolves can find their way optimal, but I've real hard time guessing which one. You have any stronger leans on this matchup?
You know, from the Wolves' perspective here, they've been playing a lot of the season with guys in and out from the starting lineup. You know, you had Randall out for some time. Rudy Gobert was out for some time. You know, Naz Reid was super high priced. Now they've kind of all leveled out, and they look all mispriced, like kind of what JT says. But when you see all of them in, it makes it really hard because it's like, okay, who is it though? You know what I mean? Like one or two of these guys probably get there, but who's it going to be? Like I think Rudy could bounce back and have a good game, you know, but the minutes are a little bit of a concern. You know what I mean? Naz Reid was really good when he was gone, and he played really good last game against the Pacers. So they rolled with them, which I get. You know, so that could happen again, JT. It wouldn't shock me, but I'm probably not playing Naz Reid, right? So it's just tough with this type of team. I will say Ant has been awesome. I could see, Ant having another good game here. I like him and Rudy, I think, are the two guys that I'm going to keep in my pool from Minnesota. The New Orleans side, though, is interesting because, without Trey Murphy, it does open up, minutes for someone like Jordan Hawkins, who is really cheap, 3,400. I do think they're going to need some perimeter scoring here. I could see him, getting the start. I could also see them starting Bruce Brown. If they did that, he would be somewhat interesting. I think it'd be a tough spot for him against a team like Minnesota with his game, but that's why I feel like it's a better spot for someone like Jordan Hawkins, who can kind of stretch the floor, doesn't need the basketball in his hands, and Zion can kind of create. Zion and CJ can just kind of create, and he can hit some open shots. But yeah, I mean, he's the guy from the Pels I like the most. I think that, on a different slate, I might be more interested in these Pelicans at the top. I don't know how much I love it here. Like, I don't love this spot for Zion. I think he probably gets like 45 at 9,200. Like, I mean, am I dying to pay that price? Probably not.
Not in this.
So,
I mean, this is now you've got him going up against three bigs who they're going to rotate, right? And the the Timberwolves team, when fully healthy, has been a much different team, obviously, than when
they've been really good recently too, right? Like they've been playing pretty good basketball. So I do worry a little bit that they just kind of get crushed here, the Pelicans. But I think for me, Hawkins on the Pels side and on the Minnesota side, and Rudy are the guys I'm looking at. I can't play Mike Conley. I can't do it. I totally get it. He's 3,800.
He's 3,800.
I think, though, we are going to get better value on this slate. Guys that actually have ceilings. And Mike Conley, just to me, doesn't have that. So I think we're going to get better.
And if the game plays out as the spread indicates, Conley's going to play like 18 minutes.
Oh, and Fathead just let us know Tyrese Halley.
Except it's not what actually it is what I wanted, right? Because while Halliburton is out, Pascal and Jarace Walker are in.
Oh man, so we don't even get the big situation. Okay.
No.
So that's interesting because now that kinds of changes it up a little, JT, from like where I was like, okay, I want the bigs, you know what I mean? Like now there's more bigs in the mix.
There's still a lot of guards.
There's still a lot of guards. I mean, there's still guards, but I do think the guards roles definitely still increase a little bit. I don't think you need a TJ McConnell. I think Andrew Nembhard's fine. Obi Toppin's the one that kills the most, I think. So, that's who I think it hurts the most.
I'm glad, honestly, because you were almost like the devil's serpent, tempting me into
well, because I was like, how is he not? Well, because I was like, how is he not going to play 40 minutes if those guys are out?
Carlisle, and he's got a thing, right? He's got a thing where if you play well and you play, 33 minutes in a game, it's almost like communism.
Who are they going to play? James Johnson? I don't even know if James Johnson.
Tony Bradley. I mean, imagine my surprise.
Can he physically check in a game, James Johnson? James Johnson's like 50.
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you what, he's in good shape. But Tony Bradley, right? I made my lineups. I said, okay, we had a break in between games. I'm going to go out. I'm going to grab some food. I'm watching the scroll. I'm not even watching the game. I'm watching the scroll, and I see the leaders. The leaders for the Pacers. I've got 70% Thomas Bryant, like a fucking moron. And I see the leaders. And the first guy, I forget even who it was. It was someone kind of expected, like maybe Mathurin had
Mathurin probably.
No, Nembhard. Nembhard. This is when Nembhard was still in the game before he decided to try and beat the piss out of 2 7-footers. And
don't you love it when a short guy just tries to beat up the 7'2" dude?
I look up and I see the second name and the leading. It's like Tony Bradley has 6 points and 4 rebounds. And I'm like, why wouldn't he have? Why wouldn't he have 6 points and 4 rebounds in the second quarter? Because nobody played him and nobody expected that he was going to see the court in a competitive game. So anyway, I digress. I'm glad that happened. Maybe you want to play Pascal in a good matchup at 8,300. Maybe you just want to.
It's a good matchup because honestly, PJ's a tough guard. I will say, and PJ's going to be on him probably. PJ and Najee are good defenders.
Yeah.
But the one thing Pascal loves is undersized, going up against teams that are undersized. When you're starting Kessler Walker or PJ, whatever you want to call it, but like Kessler Walker, PJ, Najee Marshall lineups, let's be honest, none of them are centers, right? They're 2 of them are undersized 4s or 3s technically, right? Kessler Walker's not a 4.
Yeah.
PJ's like a 4, I guess, that can play the 5, but really doesn't want to play the 5. Could play the 3, honestly. So those are the teams that Siakam loves to go against, teams that don't have size, because he likes to get in there. He likes to post up and play in the paint a lot. So when when you don't have shot blockers to intimidate him, dude, he's just going to go at them. Because Miles Turner and Pascal are perfect combination, because Miles Turner doesn't even like to be inside. He likes to be on the outside. So he's going to stay at the top of the key. So he's going to pull a big out on the top of the key with him. So it's going to be pretty much Pascal one-on-one unless they just double him. And if they don't double him, he's going to just attack whoever's guarding him, whether it's PJ or Najee. He's going to see, that hoop's going to be massive to him with no shot blocker to intimidate.
You're trying to seduce me into a Pacer here. I see it.
I'm just saying it's a spot for Siakam.
Max 1 of Turner or Pascal. You agree?
Max 1. So like you don't have to have one, but you're saying
max.
In
other words, I don't want any team.
You don't want more than one of those guys.
Of Pascal or Turner, because one of those guys is going to have a floor or average.
So you don't think they could both get there?
64 and 83.
I think they could both get there in the spot.
Even if one goes 6, one goes 7, there's no way that both are going optimal.
Possible, yeah, because of how big the slate is, maybe. But what I will say though is, I think if you're just someone like building 1 to 3 teams and stuff like that, and you're not playing in the $18, the big lotto contest,
even there, I'll tell you what, Beanair's in here and he looks bored. Beanair, go find out this season how many games have Siakam and Turner had ceiling games.
I will say, in years past, Tony Bradley has been a DFS late season hero. So Tony Bradley's been around. I think he was on the Bulls, maybe Utah, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he's been around. I can't believe he's still in the league.
That's true. Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Dallas news. Brandon Williams is listed out. So news coming in here. No Brandon Williams tonight.
That helps Spencer Dinwiddie. Did Jaden Hardy get ruled out?
He has not yet. It's just the Brandon Williams news. J Ruff, you go ahead and figure that out then. All right, we're gonna move on.
I think that would make Spencer a good play if Williams and Hardy as well gets ruled out.
Fathead has said Jaden Hardy available. All right. So
that's why they ruled him out. Damn it.
Yeah.
All right, scratch what I said.
All right.
Jaden Hardy might be a good play if he starts.
All right. All right. We are moving on now. We have covered the Pelicans and the Timberwolves. Anyone except for Joe Ruff have a question, go ahead and drop it in chat.
We love Joe Ruff on this show.
We're gonna ignore him. We're not gonna put him in timeout, but I'm gonna ignore him for 7 minutes just because he's
7 minutes. Okay, 7 minutes is fair.
He's being a cuck. Next game, Knicks heading into San Antonio. I mean, that Knicks Miami game, JSU. I was watching that actually in your hometown. I was in Boston. I was there at the Encore, and I actually vomited on the bar as well. So it wasn't just the people in the arena seeing that game that got a little bit of nausea and things like that. It was also people watching that at home, so to speak.
I will admit I watched it as well. It was making me sick.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Joe Ruff is going to go in timeout now. Knicks favored by 9, 227 total. Charles Bassey out for the Spurs. Jordan McLaughlin is questionable. And then on the Knicks side, Mitchell Robinson and Pacome Dadier are questionable. JSU. These Spurs, the guards have been decent plays until they haven't been. And now they've gotten into this rotation where it's a little bit difficult. Everyone seems to be playing 26 to 28 minutes the last week or so on the Spurs. Knicks are all priced up as well. Could be a spot, though, for McBride to have a bit of a bounce back here. What are your thoughts on the Knicks and the Spurs?
Yeah, the Spurs, another team where they went from trying to win to immediately trying to lose really fast.
Very quick.
Faster than any other team I think I've ever seen, going from trading De'Aaron to then Wemby's, done. And then De'Aaron all of a sudden's done with a finger issue. And here we are. Everyone's playing, mid-20s minutes. I will say, I think if this is a close game, Castle is the one guy that could play more. And, he's the one guy from the Spurs that I would leave in the pool because he does have upside. And I think if anyone's getting those extra minutes, it could be him. Like, they're not giving Chris Paul minutes. Keldon Johnson, even though he's been really good, he's not getting more than 26 to 30 minutes. So, I think he's the only one that you would want a roster that actually has a chance to play 35 minutes is all I'm saying. I don't even know if he will, but I think a chance. It's probably him.
He's got to run. He's got to run at 6,600. He's got to run super hot.
Super hot. But we've seen it, though. I've watched him put up 50. I've seen him do it. Yep. So, and again, like I said, I think he's more an MME play. I don't think he's a 1 to 3 lineup type play.
Right.
Total MME play. I think the Spurs, if you're playing Spurs on your main team, I think you're crazy. They're MME plays. The Knicks, a little different. I do think Cat's a pretty good play. I played him last game, a little underwhelming, even though he got really hot for a stretch. But, that game went from the Knicks looked really bad to what the hell happened? The Knicks looked great. And that game was very weird. Josh Hart went from being terrible to having a triple-double in 29 minutes. And I was I looked away for a second, JT, and I was like, oh, Josh Hart's having a rough, first stretch and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, the dude's on pace for a triple-double, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? How did this happen? You know what I mean? So
looked like it was going to be competitive, and then it was not. But he did that in 29 minutes, which shows that if Josh Hart's upside, he's a great tournament play because the floor might not be as great at 8K as it was at 6,800
7K, but the dude dropped almost 60 in 29 minutes. And that is with only shooting the ball 9 times. That is very impressive. That's a big ceiling. I think him and Cat are good tournament plays. They're probably my 2 favorite plays on the Knicks. All these other guys have gotten kind of price bumps to where I don't need to play Miles McBride. Mikal Bridges is, even when he's scoring like 28 real points and 36 fantasy points, I just don't love that. I just don't love it. I want my guy to be able to do a little more with the other stats, and he just doesn't do it for me. So yeah, I think it's Hart and Cat. I mean, OG has upside too. If you want to leave him in the pool, you can. I think he'd be my 3rd guy if I was ranking him, but Nick's definitely the better side.
I'm on the McBride side. I think he came off a bit of a rough game. I think at 5,600, I'd rather play him than any Pacer guard.
I got one, McBride or Nembhard.
I would rather play McBride than any Pacer guard.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What about Dallas now that Clay's out? Because someone just said Clay's out.
We're going to need starters there, and they still have a bunch of bodies, right? I mean, that Clay is out and Williams is out. So what does that leave you with? Does that leave you with just Hardy and Dinwiddie at the guard?
So they have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is JT. We got to play Dallas. We got to play Dallas here. They've got. Listen to this. So they've got Kai Jones, Dwight Powell, Jaden Hardy, Kessler Edwards, Max Christie. That's 5. Spencer Dinwiddie, Najee Marshall, and PJ Washington. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 5 bigs. Because Kessler Edwards is not. He can play the 3, but he's not like a 3. They play him more at like the 4 or 5. And Kai Jones and Dwight Powell, those are centers. They're not probably going to play together. So
go back and take a look at the pricing though on Dallas. So
I mean, the minutes have to be insane for guys like
Hardy and Dinwiddie. All right, so I would go Dinwiddie over McBride at 5,600.
Yeah, I know Max Christie hasn't been good, but he's going to have to play a ton of minutes because who knows what they like. Is Jaden Hardy going to be good to play a ton of minutes? That's going to be the test. Is Jaden Hardy starting over Spencer Dinwiddie? Yep. If he starts over Spencer Dinwiddie, then I assume his minutes are good to go, JT. If they start Dinwiddie, though, then I worry about Hardy's minutes, and I think Dinwiddie's playing massive minutes.
Hardy hasn't played in 2 weeks. He has not played in 2 weeks.
So I think starters are crucial, though, because it felt like to me they want to bring Spencer off the bench. So if they don't and they start him, then I
think about this. If they start Hardy and he hasn't played in 2 weeks, I mean, Spencer's been playing big minutes off the bench, right?
Yeah, but theoretically, they should both play big minutes in the spot. They're missing guards. Like, they need guards.
But the Mavs have not done that when they brought guys back outside of PJ Washington.
PJ.
They have not thrown them into a 32-minute role.
Well, also, though, you got to think.
You only have 8 guys.
What type of condition are these guys in? Because they only have 8 guys. And I laid it out. 2 of them are centers that literally can't play together.
Yeah.
I don't think they can play together. So where does that leave you?
Was it him that had the 2 centers on? No, I think this was Philly that were playing. They were playing Bona, Reese, and
that was Philly. Yeah, they were doing that shit. It was driving me nuts. It's driving me nuts.
All right.
But starters will be crucial, and we'll get them. But I think this changes Dallas completely. It makes these guys a lot better plays.
It does. Okay. Next one. This is one we want to spend a little time on. The 76ers heading into Oklahoma City, take on the Thunder. Thunder favored by 12. 227.5 total for the Thunder. This is why this game is interesting. Ousmane Dieng, Lugens Dort, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are out. Jalen Williams is also out. Isaiah Hartenstein and Kason Wallace are questionable. Alex Dukas, who is a seldom used shooting guard, is in. On the Philly side, Bona, Drummond, Maxey, Lonnie Walker all out. Kelly Oubre, doubtful, and Yabu is questionable here, JSU. 230 total. We have seen that the Thunder defense clearly much different with the subtraction of particularly Dort and Jalen Williams. This is a game I think you want exposure to. We do need that news on Hartenstein and Kason Wallace. But talk us through the information that we have now. Is this a spot where now at 8,600 on DraftKings, Quentin Grimes is still going to play 40 minutes and drop 60 fantasy points?
That is the annoying thing with Philly is like, are they going to pull the Jared Butler shit where, they're like keeping their best player from playing max minutes? Or are they going to do the Quentin Grimes thing where if their best player's rolling, they let him cook, JT. And I don't know how anyone knows. Quentin Grimes is 8,600. We have no idea if this coach is just going to let him roll again, or if he's going to only play him 29 minutes, 30 minutes, or something like that. I will say, though, he is going to be unowned, and his ceiling is massive. So if you want to get some Quentin Grimes, especially if you're MMEing, I don't see why you don't play 5-10% Quentin Grimes. Like, I don't even if you're playing 150, you should be able to easily get over this field if you want to, because just the threat, JT, of him playing 40 minutes should make you interested in projections right now. If you just run projections, you're not getting any Quentin Grimes.
No.
So I think he's a guy that you can bump the projection on. You can try and get, like I said, you don't have to go crazy or anything like that, but 10% is enough if the guy's 1%. So
personally, I'm going to just swap the projection for him and Luka. And
you're going to get a lot of Quentin Grimes.
See if Clock is listening.
Clock's about to come at you right now.
He is. He's upset too. He's upset. He said, look, they traded this guy away too. I mean, my goodness.
If you're a Mavs fan, you should be angry. Like, you should be angry watching these guys right now.
Yes.
I'm angry for you, and I'm not a Mavs fan.
I don't get angry all that much. It is kind of amusing to me to see the meltdown every day. I love our guys. I love Glock. VIP is okay. But
I do love how you call him VIP though, and not that bullshit name VIP they were trying to get me to call him.
No,
dude, you're VIP forever.
Yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. I mean, it's a guy clearly who thinks a lot of himself, has a huge ego, wants everyone to call him VIP. I mean, it's off-putting to some, but I find it.
And honestly, VIP sounds way better than VIP.
It does.
Is
VIP,
balling.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
it's balling. But I'm in on the Grimes thing, JT. Like, I'm going to play a little bit just because, like I said, actually, I like this game too. I'm going to like it even more if the news with OKC goes the way I want it to go. Mm-hmm. But even if it doesn't, I think there's good plays on the OKC side. I think Aaron Wiggins is one of the best value plays right now at 5,100. I think Chet Holmgren's a good play.
Yeah.
They're still questionable with Hartenstein and Wallace that we need to wait on with news. And I do think that's pretty big, those two guys being in or out. Because Kason Wallace, if he's in and he starts and they bring Caruso off the bench, which I think is what would happen, his role is going to be really, really good with no SGA. So I would like Kason Wallace if that's the case. If they started Caruso, I would like Caruso, JT. So that's the thing, right? I want to wait and see what they do. If Hartenstein's out, then that really opens up Chet Holmgren for a massive spot too as well.
I mean, even if Hartenstein is in, right? Holmgren is the guy with the upside. Holmgren is the guy that they'll play 36 minutes. They have not done that with Hartenstein towards the end of the
I
season.
think they could both get 40 plus if they were both in, though.
I feel more confidence in Holmgren is all I'm saying. I have more
Oh,
confidence.
yeah. I'm just saying, I think they could both get 40 plus. Like, I think they could both get 40 plus. It's kind of like the Pascal Miles Turner thing. It's like, I mean, they both could get 40. I just think that this pairing with all the guys that are out, it's more likely they both could do it as opposed to Turner and Siakam. Now, I think Siakam has a better chance of getting 50 plus than all of those guys. But as a combo, I think this combo would be better than that combo.
So you'd be willing to play these two guys together?
I would be, yeah, because I do see a path where they both could get 40 plus. And I think if they both combine for like 90 JT somehow, then that's good for me, at least.
Jake Swell says Jalen Williams at 4,600 looks good. Not for me. I think that's a little bit too pricey.
Now I got a question. If Hartenstein's out, do you think they could start Jalen with a Y Williams next to Chet?
Well, that's what Jake Swales is saying, right? That he looks good at 4,600. The 46, they do have Kenrich Williams. By the way, we should talk about this because Kenrich Williams is projecting to be very highly owned. Always a mistake, I think, when he's highly owned to fall into that trap because, it's a good matchup. He's low priced. I get all that. You want some. I don't think you want 50% of this guy.
No, it's also going to depend on what other value we get, right, JT? Like that's another thing right now. He's 3,200. Also going to depend on if those two guys are in, because listen, if they go from 11 guys to 9, that's a big difference, right? Because OKC, you said it when we jumped on here. What's OKC? No, they're going to play a bunch of guys if they have them, but they can't play a bunch of guys if they only got 9. You know what I mean? They can only play the 9.
Kenrich is still one of these guys, like a Wendell Carter Jr., that can hang out on the court for 28 minutes and finish with 15, right? I mean, that is well within the possibility.
Chet's played 35 and 34 minutes his last 2 games.
Chet's playing minutes more than Hartenstein.
They're ramping his minutes up, is what it looks like to me. They're getting him ready for the postseason, which they need to, honestly, because he's the only one that, he came off the being out and he wasn't playing the big minutes that Jalen and SGA were playing, and he's got to get up there for the playoffs because he's got to get used to playing those minutes with those guys. So,
and I assume
that makes sense.
I assume you're probably like me, Grimes or nobody else on the Sixers, right?
Grimes or nobody else. Yeah.
All right. Andrew Martinez, who's the Brolo play like the other day? That was a good call. It was a great call. Thank you, Andrew, for mentioning and remembering that. It was a great call, JSU. It was Brooke Lopez at 2%.
I thought the best. It was one of the best calls you could have on that slate.
People are saying it was the best, and that's not me. That's people, as you can clearly see by Andrew Martinez saying it. 2% owned, JSU is the highest scoring center on the slate. That doesn't happen every day. That's in fact, it's something.
And that you said, it's the people that are saying it. You didn't even say it. You didn't even bring it up. It was just
no one's ever seen before, right? No one's ever seen a 2% owned center be the highest scoring center on the slate. Anyway, listen, we will get to the Brolo play of the day. We're working through the slate here, Andrew. We're going to try and give you something good. Brad Swint, we are going to pass on the Alex Reese revenge spot. I can speak for JSU on that. I feel comfortable doing that. And we'll move on to the next game. Only a few games left. So if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. This game, JSU, is one that got a little bit uglier, shall we say. I mean, it was already ugly with some of the projected value on Washington looking like they were going to be highly owned. But this is Washington at the Jazz. Jazz favored here by 2.5, 234.5 total. For the Jazz, Lauri Markkanen, KJ Martin, Svi, and Jaden Springer are out. Not to fret, they have more bodies. Jordan Clarkson Walker Kessler and Colin Sexton will play. Washington, Keyshawn George and Chris Middleton are out. Jordan Poole is in. He will play. Marcus Smart is in. He will play. I think if you're interested in a play in this game, it's going to be at the center position or maybe Campagne from the Wizards if he starts. He did not start last game and therefore did not have a good score. Those are my initial thoughts when I look at this. I mean, in MME, could you leave Poole in? Yes. Smart's cheap enough? Sure. Do I want them in a main lineup? I want them nowhere near the main lineup. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, Washington's just one of those teams where, like you said, if Champagne is in the starting lineup, he's probably a solid play. But if he's not, then he's just not in play. So that's how I look at him. Jordan Poole's not in play. Alex Sard, 6,400. Now, he has shown some upside. I'm probably not going to play him. It's not a bad spot, though, against Utah. So if you wanted to leave him in for like MME purposes, I'd have no problem with that.
It's one of the better spots. I think the challenge is 6,400.
It's a
and that volatility. Vukcevic looks like he's going to be popular as well. He's cheaper, but
and it might be a spot, JT. Like, honestly, the way I look at Washington, it might just be a spot where maybe we just pick our favorite value guy. Is it Vucevic? Is it AJ Johnson? Honestly, I think those are the only two guys that I'm going to look at. They're cheap. I don't need as much out of them. I don't want to spend up for a Washington guy. That's just how I feel. I don't want to do it. AJ Johnson's talented. His game's still super raw. And when you watch him, you'll see it. He's going to have turnover issues, but he's athletic. If he gets the minutes, then, he could give you something, but he's not one of those guys. He's not like a high point per minute type guy, JT. Like Vucevic, he could get it done in 24 minutes. We've seen 30 plus the last two games in only 24 and 25 minutes. That's some pretty good fantasy production in that time. So I think if you made me pick one guy, I think I'd lean him just for the fact that I think he's a better fantasy producer. But I'm going to say, for me, the only guys interested are those two value plays here. And then on the Utah side, I think you should keep Walker Kessler in your pool because it's a good spot for him, and he plays 30 minutes a night. So you're not going to get more than that, but we've seen 50, 60, and we've seen these centers like, Mark Williams. I know he had a bad game last time out, but we've seen these centers that
destroy the Wizards in very little minutes.
Yeah, in very little. So I would keep Walker in your pool.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he's a good play.
All right, next game. Now finally in the 10 o'clock hour, where there are 4 games tonight in the 10 o'clock Eastern hour. Denver in Los Angeles, favored by 2.5, a 232 total. Aaron Gordon's probable for the Nuggets. Christian Braun, Nikola Jokic, and Jamal Murray are questionable. Luka is probable. Rui and LeBron are going to miss, and Trey Jamison is questionable. JSU, you said when we started, you're going to assume these guys are all in. And what does that do for your exposure to this Nuggets-Lakers game at 10 o'clock?
Well, what it does for me is 12.9 price tag for Jokic, 12.5 for Luka. Honestly, I think they do good, but man, they're going to have to destroy, I think, on this slate to
you need 90.
Get me to where I want, like big scores. And honestly, if you're projecting these guys, you should be projecting them for like high 60s or 70, because that's what you're going to want. You're going to want almost 70 fantasy points or more from these guys at these price tags, I think, JT, on this slate. So I'm probably going to end up being a little lower on them. Honestly, the guy that I've been looking at who's been really friggin' good is Austin Reeves. He is 9K, which I struggle with, but I think it's a really good spot for him. I could see him crushing Denver in this spot, especially with them focusing a little bit more on Luka. I could see Austin Reeves having a big game here. My guy Lou Williams, I don't know if you heard what he said about Austin Reeves not being
I saw the debate in Discord. You were very
upset. He said he wasn't the best third guy in LA. Not in the league, right? In LA. He said Norman Powell was better than Austin. I can almost guarantee you that nobody is taking Norman Powell over Austin Reeves straight up. Maybe outside of Lou Williams. That was an insane take. Norman Powell is great. But he was, before this season, first of all, he was a six-man type guy. You know what I mean? And he was good. You know, he's a solid little defender, hits the three. Yeah, he's had a great season. But Austin Reeves, he can adapt. When you can play with LeBron, Luka, you can make things happen. When you can adapt your game like that, you're a different type of player. He can be the second guy. He can be the third guy. He could probably be the fourth guy if he needed to be on a team. That adaptability makes him so valuable in this NBA. And I just don't think I think that's crazy to say that. I mean, I think he's the best third guy in the league. Not unless you can find a third guy that's better.
Listen, I think he's very good. He's very talented. He's shown that when he's gotten the opportunity. Before they traded for Luka, in the games that Davis missed, he was great. The game the other night against Denver, against the same team, this is why I think these guys play, and I think it's a different result. Outstanding. 76, I think it was fantasy points, right? All right. So you like Austin Reeves. Anything else in this game?
You know, honestly, Dalton Connect is 5'7". I don't know why. That's right. Crazy. You know, Jackson Hayes, 5K. I know he's been pretty good the last couple games. I probably don't need it on this slate. I think I like other 5K guys better. Then you get into like the good wins, which we've seen the ceiling, we've seen the floor. You know, he can go 30 one night, he can go 10, but the thing is, he's not jacking up a bunch of shots. That's why they like him. He plays defense. He doesn't care about his stats. They don't care about his stats. Right. That's why the Lakers love him. And JJ even talked about it after that game where what did he have? Like it was a game where I think it was the Phoenix game. Might have been the Phoenix game where he was like, Jordan Goodwin was amazing. And he had 11 fantasy points. He had 2 actual points, JT. But he was like, he did everything else we needed. That's the type of guy. So it's not going to be a friendly fantasy click. DFS is never a friendly fantasy click. I just can never do it. And then the Denver side, you know, MPJ's price tag went up a little. Christian Braun. I would need some of these guys to get ruled out. You know, if Jokic is in but Murray's out, JT, that changes my mind. I'd probably like, you know, an MPJ more. I'd probably like a Christian Braun or a little bit more. But if all of them are in, then I'm not as high on them, honestly. So I think my favorite play is Austin Reeves, though.
Okay.
What do you like anything?
You know, once I see the price, again, this depends, of course. If these guys for Denver are in. Assuming they're in, I find it very hard to, you know, leave any more than a small percentage of these guys in my pool just sheerly for the ceiling. You know, Joker at that price point, right? We did see a fairly close game with Luka out. I think this is going to be competitive. But I also think this is one where we could see one of these guys put up a big number, and I lean more towards Joker than I do on the Luka side here, just because of the reason that you say. I think they will force someone else on the Lakers to do the damage. It's a much harder task to do that on Denver, because if you double Joker, then it's Murray, then it's Porter, then it's Gordon. It's not, and who are you going to do it with? You don't have the bodies. You don't have the size.
I
Right
will
now.
say JJ had a good game plan against Joker last time they played.
Yeah.
They did a really good job against Joker last
That's
time.
fair.
But easier said than done to do that,
twice.
Do it twice, right? But we'll see.
But basically lower on this game overall. I'll leave these guys at a low percentage point in the pool. Just at the prices, JSU, it's hard, especially if all those guys are in. Next game, we are moving to Cleveland at Sacramento. Cleveland is favored by 5 here. They are on a back-to-back after a loss at the Clippers last night. 236 total. Darius Garland was ruled out for Sacramento. Terry Taylor, a power forward, has signed a 10-day contract. I think that there's maybe a interesting play here in Cleveland with respect to the situation with Garland, obviously. What are your thoughts, Cleveland and Sacramento?
Yeah, so the only thing I worry about is the minutes on the back end of a back-to-back for these guys. And I've talked about it with Cleveland. There are certain spots where they push their guys' minutes. There are certain spots where they do not push their guys' minutes. I can almost tell you for certain, back end of a back-to-back in Sacramento, probably not a spot where we see like 40 minutes or 37 minutes, 38 minutes out of these guys.
Yep.
But Darius Garland being out changes it a little bit. It makes Donnie Mitchell a little more interesting. Maybe because Garland's out, maybe he gets a little minutes bump, JT. That's the only thing I could say, regardless of who they're playing. With Garland out, maybe he gets to like 36, 37 minutes. And then I think Ty Jerome is interesting value play. I don't think he's going to start. So for the people who for some reason think he might start, and then when they see he doesn't start freaking out like, is Ty Jerome still a good play? Blah, blah, blah. Yep. He's still a good play. He is 4,500. The dude can drop 40. We've seen it. So I think for me, it's the guards. It's him and Donnie that I'm most interested in. The Sacramento side, they all seem overpriced, even with Sabonis out, to be honest with you. Like DeRozan, he could have 44 again. If he does, though, I mean, that's fine score, but do I feel like I need DeRozan? No. I think these are MME only type plays. Him, Zach LaVine, Joe Val. It feels a little overpriced, even though, there's a few centers that have had some big games. I wouldn't be shocked if Joe Val had a good game against Cleveland here, but MME plays only. I don't see much else from Sacramento.
Yeah, probably not paying that price for Jonas Valanciunas. So Ty Jerome, though, 4,500 on DraftKings, very interesting play, particularly on the back-to-back against Sacramento. We'll move on. Just 2 games left. Next game, Chicago, the Bulls heading into Phoenix. Phoenix favored by 6, 235.5 total. Josh Giddey will return here, JSU. That is interesting for this game. Grayson Allen, Bradley Beal, Mason Plumlee out for the Suns. That is also interesting. The 235.5 total, the 6-point spread, the pace with which the Bulls play, the fact that there are some injuries on the Suns, this is a game I like a little bit.
Yeah, I like it too, JT. I really like Devin Booker. I think he's a good play for tournaments. I like to spend here 9,200 in this spot. Been creating a little bit more too. It was interesting. They started that lineup with Gillespie in there, which I thought was pretty interesting. But I like it. Honestly, I think Devin Booker's better when he just has the ball in his hands and he can go score and create. He's almost like that point guard because he has those skills. I don't know why they haven't done that more with him, because I feel like he does have that ability to create for others and get his own when he needs to. So at 9,200, I think he's a good tag here. I hope they start that lineup again. These other guys, though, like Royce O'Neal, Tyus Jones, Ryan Dunn. I think they're fine value plays. I think if you fall on these guys, I'm okay with it. I'm probably not going to. The Nick Richards, I worry a little about value plays like that.
Mhm.
Now he can smash, but he also has the downside of them just not
Been a
playing
good spot
him.
for opposing centers. The Bulls have been a very good
Really
spot.
good spot.
Very
That's the thing. It's a really good spot. I think I
Yep.
saw on DK Sportsbook his rebounding prop was like the most bet prop so far over on DraftKings Sportsbook. So it doesn't shock me because this is gonna be an up-paced game. Josh Giddey in only helps that because he loves to push the pace. So I really think we're going to see some big scores from a fantasy standpoint. So I'm with you. I like the Booker play. I like Tyus Jones, Royce O'Neal. I think they're solid plays here. In the Chicago side, I think with Giddey back, we can go a little easier on them. Kevin Huerter's been really good. Trey Jones been really good. I assume Giddey back definitely hurts Trey Jones, though.
It definitely hurts Trey Jones, especially he's priced up now. It hurts Kobe White because he's priced up. But I will say, people will look at Josh Giddey and say, wow, 8,500, that's too expensive. Last time against this team, he dropped 60 fantasy points. This has been a team that has given up a ton of fantasy points. The Phoenix Suns have. So I think this is an interesting game to target, even though at first glance you might be like, well, Giddey's in, messes things up. We'll go.
The only question is, do they keep his minutes somewhat in check first game back off an ankle injury? That's the only question.
You wonder.
I agree with you.
We should hear about that. Billy Donovan has been good about sharing that information. He did it when Vucevic came back. He did it when Patrick Williams came back. So we'll have to pay attention to the Chicago beats because that'll be an opportunity to pivot maybe to someone in this next game, the last game of the night, which is going to be Memphis at Portland. The Grizzlies favored by 4.5, 235 total here. Big news on the Memphis side. Ja Morant is out. As far as everyone else, Lamar Stevens is out. Zion Pullen is out. Scottie Pippen Jr. and Santi Aldama are questionable. On the Portland Trailblazers side, Jabari Walker and Robert Williams both are out. Rayan Rupert and Toumani Camara are questionable. And Jeremy Grant, who has missed some time here, is doubtful. Desmond Bane's been really, really good without Ja Morant. What are your thoughts here on the Memphis Grizzlies?
Yeah, Desmond Bane's been a beast. I loved him last slate. I like him a lot again here. I do think Toumani Camara being in or out makes a difference for Desmond Bane because Toumani Camara is one of those individual defenders that does make a difference for the main ball handler or wing player for opposing teams. So if he's out, I think that makes Bane an even better play. I like him, though. I'll play some Desmond Bane. I do see this as a bounce back spot for someone like Jaren Jackson against a team like Portland, where, they're going to throw the Denny's and especially if Jeremy Grant's out and Kamara's out, they don't have a lot they can throw at someone like Jaren Jackson. So I feel like he's got a pretty good mismatch on whoever they end up throwing at him. So maybe it's Chris Murray, but he should be able to do some work with Chris Murray. So I like him. I also think that Zach Edey, the minutes, it feels like they started to give him a little more minutes. And against a team like Portland, who's been playing Donovan Clingan a pretty good amount of minutes here, between 25 and, 34 minutes. Zach Edey, if he gets 25 minutes here, JT, in this matchup, I think he could do some good work too. Because for him, it's always the minutes, or most of the time it's the minutes with him. Does he get the minutes in these spots? Sacramento, 24 minutes. Miami, 27 minutes. Those teams, they got bigs. They got bigs that, kind of makes sense here. But then the Cleveland game, you would expect only plays 11 minutes. You're like, oh, they decided to go a little smaller. You know what I mean? Right. So that's the thing with Zach Edey. You don't get it all the time, but I do think if he gets the run, he could have a pretty good game here.
And then on the Portland side, it's a little tough, right? I mean, you do have the centers, you do have Klingon in there, and this has been a matchup where they've yielded some pretty big games to opposing centers. Donovan Klingon at 5,800. And when it's not on a back-to-back, he's been playing 30, 34 minutes. He's had big game upside on occasion. There's also been minute limit upside on occasion. So it's not something that I'm interested in playing on my main team. But certainly there are some plays there. They got a little bit too full, I think, the Blazers, for me to get all that excited about playing more than maybe one of these guys, in particular, max one of those guards.
Yeah, I think max one Blazer is probably a good rule to be honest. So don't love them.
So 11 games, still some news to come. The Denver news right now seems to be Denver and OKC news seems to be the news that will impact whether or not this slate changes a bunch, JSU. But give us the play of the day. Give us the under-owned play of the day. Everybody's been waiting for it. You got 500.
Well, everyone's been waiting for your under-owned play of the day. Don't short yourself here, JT. The people are looking for the Brolo 2% owned play of the day. Yep. So don't short them of that. I will say, before we do the play of the day, DraftKings Sportsbook, if you bet over there, you should check them out. They got a great promo. It's called the King of the Court promo on DK Sportsbook. Everyone should go play it. It's an awesome promo. They changed the rules up a little bit. So I think now you can do a 2-leg parlay. So you can have 2 players in your promo, and pretty much you're betting. You can do just one, obviously, but if you do the 2-leg parlay, you're pretty much betting any player prop that you want from said player. And if they end up being the player that has the highest PRA on the slate, points, rebounds, assists, then you win a share of $1 million in bonus bets. So check that out. It's a great promotion. Obviously, if you bet the top tier studs like Jokic, Luka, and stuff like that, you're going to win a very small very small bonus bet. But you can get creative. You know what I mean? Quentin Grimes, a few slates ago, if they had that promotion on that slate where he dropped, 46 or 43 actual points, and he had like 60 something PRA, he was probably the winner, JT. He would have probably been the winner. And it probably would have got you a nice little bonus bet. So you can, like, majority of time, the Cats, the Jokic's, the Lukas, the Cade Cunninghams, Ant Edwards, those are the winners. You know what I mean? But there are some slates where you can get the random guy that goes through, and you want a guy that can score in bunches, because scoring, if your guy gets you 40 like actual points, that's massive. So you want guys that can score, and you should check it out. It's a pretty cool promo. I still haven't decided who I'm going to bet. My play of the day, I probably will throw in my bet, but yeah, now I can put 2 guys in, so I can take 2 chances at it. So JT, I don't know if you've played it, but it's a great promotion.
I can't do it. I can't do it unless I'm traveling to a state where there's legal betting. Can't do it in Georgia.
Okay.
So
okay.
But I'm excited. I'm not now because I'm in Florida right now. So
yep. That stinks.
What can you do?
Florida. I was in there last week. That it stinks. You can't use DK over there. But
exactly.
All right. So play of the day. I've been racking it on. So the more I look at the slate, the more I'm really liking this first game on the slate, which worries me a little bit, but it looks like one of the better games. I think that and the OKC spot are 2 games I'm going to be very invested in. So my play is coming from that game. I think the guy I'm going to roll with is Pascal Siakam. I just love the spot for him when I get a spot where there's just no rim protection. There's just none. There's no one that's going to really make him afraid to just attack every single possession. So I'm going to go with Pascal here, 8,300. I like the spot for him. No Hallie. I think he's got a big game coming, and I'm definitely going to be over on the Dallas side because I think the Dallas side is the best side of the game and multiple plays to get to.
All right. Well, Tyler Etwaru is banned.
Tyler,
we will never see you again, Tyler. It was good. Thank you for joining us.
JT reminds me of how can you even say that, Tyler, with a straight face, easy money? Come on.
Joe Ruff. I mean, Joe Ruff is here in my defense. He says he called me a terrorist. I mean, oh, Dan back. Oh, ha, ha, ha. That's so funny, you moron. I know that's you, the kid, by the way. Okay. I got to clear my head.
I'll just answer that. I don't think it's a must for a 2-center slate.
No, I don't think center's super loaded here, to be honest.
No, I think there's good plays. Like I could run off, like I think Cat's a good play. I think that the centers from OKC are good plays.
Yep.
But Chet Holmgren's power forward. I like Siakam, but he's power forward. PJ's power forward. So a lot of the bigs that I actually like, a lot of them have that dual eligibility, JT. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
No, I don't think it's a must. I like Walker Kessler. He's a center that I do like for tournaments, 7,300.
Yep.
So no, I don't think it's a must.
Brian McIntyre says guard is loaded, and it is. And that's where my plays are going to come from. I'm going to give you two because we may get some news that changes the opinion of one. But I've missed Josh Giddey. I have. And I think he's got big upside here on this slate. Let 40% of people play Luka. This is not a knock on Luka. He's great, but you're paying an absolute premium in a matchup that could be very tough for him. Give me Josh Giddey against a team that doesn't play defense at 8,500. If he's limited for some reason, we're going to go back and we're going to play Desmond Bane at 3% ownership, 9,300. I think you take some of these values. I think you hit the mid-range. I think that's the way you win this slate. That's my opinion for those of you that have been waiting here. P. Wayne, last question. We'll give one last question because he asked this respectfully. He didn't do what Tyler did. And he's not named Joe Ruff or the kid. He said, who do you like as value guards? I think you like Spencer Dinwiddie.
I like the guards from Dallas. And right now, the way Jaden Hardy is projecting on the surface,
yep,
I think they think he starts. And if Jaden Hardy starts and Spencer comes off the bench even, I'll play them both, JT. I don't even care. Because I think that means they both get big run. Dallas just doesn't have an option. Like, look at their team. They're loaded with forwards and some bum centers. Like, they have no choice. So, yeah, I think with them ruling out Clay all of a sudden, JT, and them ruling out Williams, it kind of feels to me like they think Jaden can play minutes. Because think about it. If they thought he was going to be like limited big time, they probably wouldn't have ruled out both those guys, right?
And let me bring this point up because I made a statement when we were talking about this, and I said, well, he hasn't played in 2 weeks, right? Well, let me be a little bit more critical about that thought process. He doesn't necessarily have to be hurt, JSU. Nope. There could be a situation where, he's got an ankle, right? And he's perfectly fine, but they're just moderating who they're playing.
Trust me, there's a lot of guys like that.
Oh, no doubt. A
lot of guys like if they actually needed to win games, I'm telling you, there's a lot of players on a lot of these teams
be healthy. Yeah,
that'd be healthy right now. Exactly,
all the pictures would be healthy. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, no doubt. Okay. So I think, and for me personally, JSU, I'm going to be way lower on the Washington value. I'm those guys. I prioritize a guy like Ty Jerome over the Washington value. That is, I don't think I need multiple 3K guys on an 11-game slate. I think you're going to see huge scores out of the mid-range, right? And so tonight's one of those nights where, look, if 12-9 Joker goes for 100, if 12-5 Luka goes for 100, I'll lose. I'll live with that. And we'll move on to tomorrow.
Yeah. Like, I don't think I'm going to spend up for someone that's over 10K. Like, I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to try and get as many of those, 9K to 7K guys that I can fit, and then just, finish out my team from there.
Absolutely. Okay. That's it. We're going to have core plays. JSU is going to have your 3. You're going to do a 3 max, put your different cores up. Everyone will be in Discord answering lots of questions, lots of your delicious questions. Don't bet Siakam Marshall. Marshall's too expensive. Marshall could play well. Who knows?
They just don't have guys, JT. Like, they literally don't have guys. But I agree with you. Like, I'd want PJ over Marshall, and you're pretty much, like, think about it. They're the same price, pretty much. Like, how is PJ and Najee the same price? Like, PJ's got to be a better play than Najee. But
yeah. Okay. RunPureSports.com. Go ahead, get in the Discord. By all means, send negative energy and aura to the Kid and Joe Ruff, and go ahead and add Joe Cole in there, just because we haven't taught them in a while. But for JSU, JTAs, good luck in your contest. Get in the Discord. We will see you. Well, we'll be back here tomorrow. For the 5-gamer tomorrow. I'll be back here tomorrow. So what a blessing.
With Travis, it will be the same crew, but with Travis. So I don't know if that upgrades. It might upgrade from an injury report standpoint, but not a looks standpoint. This was the best looking show that we could get. But
we go from solid 10s to like a 7.5. I mean, it's
7.5. You're being gracious right now. 7.5.
I think we keep the bar pretty high.
Yeah, sure.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow.